All right. Hello, grade 8. It is now time for buoyancy and buoyant forces. And I will tell you, I love saying that word, buoyancy. And we see a family enjoying a buoyant good time. What does that mean? Well, when you are swimming in the water, there are two forces that can work against each other and affect the motion of your body. The force of gravity is pulling you down. The water is also pushing you up with a buoyant force. Buoyancy. Buoyant force, or buoyancy, is the upward force on an object submerged in or floating on fluids. Buoyant force pushes away from the center of Earth. Buoyancy. Sinking a rock. The weight is greater, the gravity, the weight is greater than the buoyancy pushing up. So therefore, it has a downward motion. The buoyancy of a rising helium balloon, well, the weight is still there, but the buoyant pressure, the buoyant force pushing up is greater. So the helium balloon goes up. Now, floating a boat, there is an equal amount of weight or gravity and buoyant force. So there is no motion. It is buoyant. Buoyancy. An object will float if its buoyant force, when fully immersed, is greater than its weight, which is gravitational force. It will sink if its weight is greater than the buoyant force. It will float when the buoyant force is equal to its weight, or the force of gravity. Archimedes' principle. Aye, this principle explains why some objects float in water and others sink. Archimedes' principle, the buoyant force is equal to the weight of the displaced water. Salt versus fresh water. Seawater, or salt water, has a density of 1 300 grams per milliliter. Fresh water has a density of 1 gram per milliliter. Therefore, 1 liter of salt water weighs more than 1 liter of fresh water. That is, salt water can support more weight per volume than fresh water, so it's easier to float in salt water. Average density. The average density of an object is the total mass of all substances that make up the object divided by the total volume. Average density results in objects that would normally sink being able to float. Examples of technologies that have been developed because of our understanding of densities and buoyancy include ships. Ships can be built of steel because their hollow hull ensures the average density of the ship is less than that of water. Number 2, personal flotation devices, better known as life jackets. Personal flotation devices are filled with a substance of very low density. This way, a life jacket lowers a person's average density, allowing the person to float. 3, submarines. By allowing water to flow in or out, a submarine can rise or sink in the water. The submarine floats when its weight is equal to the buoyant force, and it sinks when its weight is greater than the buoyant force. Hot air balloons. When the air inside a hot air balloon is heated, the air particles gain energy and spread out, forcing some of the particles out of the balloon. The air inside the balloon becomes less dense than the air surrounding it, so it rises. Average density. So, I'm going to wrap it up here. An object will float if its average density is less than the fluid in which it is immersed. An object will sink if its average density is denser than the fluid in which it is immersed. When the object's density is the same as the medium, an object will neither sink nor float. It is said to be neutrally buoyant. Thank you very much, and we will be discussing buoyancy in your next science class. Thank you, grade 8.